Hello there, this is Yogi, and today we will continue our series of videos about how to have hard conversations and how to make them easier. There are a few steps to this: awareness, acceptance, beginning, middle, and end. Today we'll talk about how to end a conversation, how to end a difficult conversation. The there are three C's: creating, celebrating, and committing. But even before we go into three C's, the first thing about ending hard conversation is to realize, to be aware that these are never really endings, but they are more about continuing later on. Conversation ends, and then it's a part of a bigger conversation. We come back, we continue these conversations. They're not really endings, but a preparation for the next conversation. Once we realize that, then we can start to take conversations as welcoming instead of something to avoid. Oh, I'm done, I'm ended, and I don't want to deal with it anymore. So there's a different body posture we come up with when we see conversations as continuing, and we start to get excited and about them and start to look forward to them. The first thing you want to do in ending the conversation, or that epoch of the conversation, is to create the other person. What do I mean by that? Creating other person means speaking to them what they did well, focusing on the silver lining, focusing on how they showed up that was helpful. Even if they got angry, okay, maybe I thought they will get a lot angrier, but they didn't get as angry. Or they did something, they smiled at some point in the conversation, or something that they did well, and you genuinely appreciate that. Finding that can be hard at times, and even when you find it, it can be another hard conversation to say it to them. I really appreciate that you did that. And that can really change their posture over time. It's not to change their posture that we're appreciating them. We are focusing on a different aspect of them, the aspect that is, doesn't get as angry, or actually smiles. And that changes our approach to the conversation next time around. And if you're not able to say it, at least accepting that to ourselves, accepting in a privacy of our own thoughts and privacy of our own home, we can accept, they did something well. And I really appreciate that. And that can change our body language the next time around we are with them. Second thing to focus on when we are ending conversations is to celebrate yourself. Celebrate the growth that came for you. A lot of times we don't appreciate the growth that comes unless there is a result accompanying. Unless we got an amazing result through a conversation, we don't appreciate the growth. Growth, for example, I was so terrified of this conversation and I actually had it. Or just a small shift in our willingness to be able to have that conversation is a big growth, but we don't appreciate that. So celebrating how we are growing internally, even though there might not be results outside, and that celebration will motivate us next time to continue or carry on this conversation, or initiate another one. And the third thing is to commit to continuing the conversation. If there's some unfinished business, a lot of times, we'll talk about it later, and we drop the conversation. It's really hard afterwards to pick that back up, because people think, oh, it's awkward to pick that back up again. Starting the conversation is always hard, and we don't want to start all over again. We want to commit to continuing and have a tentative date, a tentative time when I'm going to continue the conversation. That makes it really easy for both parties to come in the room again. Actually, starting the conversation, hard conversation, is actually a big part of the difficulty. And in between those conversations, once you commit to the next epoch or next phase of the conversation, also preparing for the conversation in between, it also will prime our mind to think of the conversation next and how can we prepare, and engaging, as we talked about in the middle part, engaging our system too, engaging our rational brain in the conversation, not just focusing on certain aspect or tunnel visioning into certain aspect of other person's kind of what they said or what the issue is, but actually going broad using the rational brain, not just the limbic system. Okay, so those are the few things that really help in ending the conversation. Create the other person as we want them to be. Focus on the qualities we like and amplify those and say those. Celebrate yourself so that you are more likely to have these conversations again in the future and continue this conversation, and then commit to continuing this conversation and engage your executive brain in your rational brain in between the conversation. So those are the 5 steps. And once we finish this step, we go back to the beginning. Actually, we probably go back to awareness and accept again and beginning the conversation again. And we go into this loop. It happens multiple times. And eventually, things start to shift. And we end up co-creating a solution together. A solution that comes out typically, a lot of times, actually, we are not even aware that solution might come. But a solution that comes out through co-creation and through conversation is something that sits well with both parties and is more likely to be implementable, instead of like people just questioning are they doing the right thing? Are they doing the right thing? Even if you agree on something. So if you co-create a solution, that ends up being it's just a better solution for everybody involved. So that's all for now, and I will do some addendums to this. What other steps we can take? What are the practices we can do to simplify all these 5 steps? But for now, that's all for now. I will see you another time. Take care. Bye bye.